Welcome to the Why Not Today podcast, where we celebrate courage, determination, and the power of saying, Why not today? I'm your host, Leslie Kane, and in each episode, we dive into inspiring stories of individuals who have taken bold steps, faced their fears, and embraced the possibility of today. From entrepreneurs to artists, dreamers to doers, we explore the moments when they said, Enough waiting, why not today? Join me as we uncover the heartwarming, the audacious, and the transformative. Whether it's pursuing a lifelong passion, overcoming obstacles, or simply choosing joy, our guests share their journeys and inspire us all. I started this podcast in honor of my father, Patrick Kane, who often said, Why not today? And remember, you're just one decision away from changing your life. And my guest today is Debi Alexander, and we're going to talk about an organization she runs called SPARC, but she's got so many other things she's done, and I can't wait to hear kind of more of her courage journey. So I always talk about connections and where I met somebody. And I've said this many, many times. And if I remember where I was when I met you, then you're in my life forever. So Debi, you're stuck with me. Um, but it's funny, everybody kept saying you need to meet Debi Alexander. And I think I had been to an event with you before I met you because the organization you worked for before that you were the executive director. I went to a gala, and then everybody's like, my sister, everybody's like, you need to meet Debi Alexander. And I was on a call, and I literally was driving up from Smith Mountain Lake and had to pull over because my reception was so bad. And so that was the first time I think I really connected with who Debi Alexander was. And then since then, our paths has crossed so many different places, like even the place you live. I know the person that used to live there. Your old next door neighbor where you lived is connected to my family now, and it's just all the connections. It's like you were just meant to be. So I'm excited to hear your journey and share some things about Spark. And we've got a fun announcements we're going to kick off today too. So Debi, why don't you introduce yourself, a quick bio and a fun fact, and then we'll get into all your courage stuff.
So, hi everyone. I'm Debi Alexander, the Executive Director of Specially Adapted Resource Centers, but more importantly, the mom of Alex and Ashley, the wife of Bill, and the proud pup mom of Trusty, my 6-pound Shih Tzu, who I love to take for long walks around Reston. A fun fact about me is many, many years ago, the King and Queen of England came to visit, and I got to be part of the group that welcomed them to the Library of Congress. And there are only 10 of us in the room as part of the greeting committee, and Angela Langsbury was one of them. She walked in this tiny small room with just a handful of people, and we were dressed head to toe exactly the same.
Oh
I
wow.
was young, so I was just mortified and couldn't say a word, but she didn't lose a beat. She looked at everyone and smiled and said, "Well, I can see that everyone in this room notices that this young lady and I were the only ones who knew to wear white gloves when you greet the Queen." And everyone laughed and the embarrassment was over, and I became an even bigger fan of Angela Lansbury.
Oh, what a cool story. And what a good lesson as a young lady to learn that, okay, make fun, you can punch fun at the thing, and instead of trying to hide it and be ashamed from it, is just put it out there and, you
Yep.
know, love that.
Embrace it.
Embrace it. Exactly. So, what does courage mean to you, Debi?
To me, courage means no fear, especially when you're fighting for the underserved. And that's my whole passion, and what drives me in life is fighting for adults with severe and multiple disabilities who can't work. They're unmeasured, they're uncounted, they're unserved. Fairfax County does a better job than any other county in the country. Virginia is ranked 39th in services for people with disabilities. Counselors always tell people when they're talking about where they should live, don't go to Virginia, but if you must go to Virginia, make sure you're in Fairfax County.
Wow.
So we're very blessed to live in a county where it's a wonderful place to live, work, and play. It doesn't mean that enough is being done for this population, because they are gravely unserved in every community.
Yeah, and we'll talk more about that. So, all right. So you've been with Spark. It only seems like a minute to me, but probably longer.
3
Um,
years.
has it been 3 years? Okay. And so before that, though, what have you done before? How did you get there? I know you worked with another nonprofit that helped with more of a underserved population, I guess. But how did you get to What are
That's a
some of your
great
courage
question.
journeys? And I always ask too, your why not today moments, those things in your life that happened that were completely pivotal. You remember where you were, what you're doing, and it completely changed the trajectory of your life. And obviously, where we start and where we finish are so different.
I feel like I've been preparing my whole life to work with SPARC. Um, I was a part of the Clinton administration. I was the director of presidential letters and messages and worked with a team of brilliant young writers. We did letters and proclamations. It was an amazing opportunity. I always tell people if power at the White House was a totem pole, I was at the toenails, the very end of the toenails, but I love being part of that
What a
experience. It was pretty
cool
amazing.
job. Have you
After
always
that,
been in politics or?
yes, since I was a baby, my mother was very politically active. My earliest memories are sitting at her feet, probably in kindergarten, stuffing letters into envelopes and walking around with her canvassing. My husband of 33 years was a member of Congress for 24 years. He represented the first congressional district of Arkansas. Um, and yes, I'm a very avid campaigner. So I've been very busy this year. Not only do we
Yes.
have a lot of events coming up with Spark, but yeah, I've been working hard. Um,
I didn't know if you were in the political world because of your husband or prior
Long before.
long before. That's what I thought.
Everyone thought I would run for Congress, that all my friends growing up, I was in student government in college, active in law school, but then you can we had our children, so I became a full-time mother rather than pursuing that.
And were you from Arkansas?
No, I'm from here. I was born at
Oh,
Walter Reed. My
okay.
parents lived in McLean. I have lived every minute pretty much of my
I don't
life.
think I knew that. Where'd you go to high school?
Woodson High School.
Okay. I don't think I knew that. That's
Yep,
pretty cool.
yep. I'm as local as they come. George Mason undergraduate, George Mason Law School. I always tell people that, when I travel, it's to Walmart.
Which is in this area a trip.
Yes, or Costco.
Friends that live in rural areas are like, oh, just run to Walmart. I'm like, you just don't run to Walmart here. Love that. Well, I know you're all about serving others. And so before we talk more about Spark, let's talk about, any pivotal, why not say moments in your life.
Almost every day is a why not today moment for me because I'm in a battle. The goal at Spark is to replicate the Fairfax County model. We're in Arlington, Fairfax, and now expanding into Loudoun. We want to expand into
Well,
Prince
talk about,
William.
so before I was looking for journeys, why not say moments, but I want to more, you keep talking about Spark, but we need to define
Sorry.
that's okay. I know what Spark is, but a lot of people aren't even from here. I mean, we've got people listening from 26 countries. So before we talk more about Spark, any why not today journey moments before Spark
Before
that you
Spark.
remember exactly where you were, what you were doing, that was a
I
pivotal
do.
moment
So
that changed your
I
life?
built and ran a therapeutic riding center out in Haymarket.
I don't think I knew that
And
either.
yep, it's Rainbow Therapeutic Riding Center. And we were trying to kickstart a program to serve wounded warriors from Walter Reed, but I needed money to serve them. So I was going back and forth, which comes first, the cart before the horse. And an organization offered to do an event to raise the money I needed to start the program, but it had to be operating. And so we had like 6 months before the event. And I was going back and forth, back and forth. And I said to the head of this organization, I don't know if I'll be operating before the event. She goes, I have faith in you. So literally the day before the event, we served our first soldier from
Oh, wow.
Walter Reed, but I was sweating it. But sometimes you just have to say, why not today? And have a little courage and believe that everything will fall into place.
Yeah, so true. And I think, and that's one of the things I try to do with this podcast is give people the hope to say, you'll figure it out and it does work. And sometimes it's the last second. Those of you that live in Northern Virginia or a Commanders fan, yesterday was a perfect example of that. Did you watch the game, Debbie?
And no, I was working.
Okay, well, did you see what happened?
I heard all about it.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, it was like, I mean, it lasts literally the last 2 seconds, and it was a Hail Mary pass, and it was tipped off, and he caught it, and we won. I mean, it was crazy. And afterwards, they asked the quarterback, like, how? And he said it was God. It was all God, like, because he was injured last week. So it was one of those things, how often do we give up? It would have been really easy for you to give up on that project and
Oh
say,
yeah.
it's too hard, but just trust. And I've seen that so many times in my career. And I always tell people, like, got a deadline, work to the end, and it's not going to come together until the end. You plant all those seeds and do all those things. And it's kind of like Santa Claus. Santa Claus does not, as much as we were excited as kids and we wanted Santa Claus to come early, he never came till Christmas Eve. So, but it's planting those seeds and they
And you
come to
hit
fruition.
the nail on the head when you talk about faith. I have spent so much of my career working for nonprofits, and both Rainbow and Spark struggled financially, and you just have to sometimes give it up to God and know that because you're doing the right thing for people who need your services, as long as you do the work, right? You
Yeah,
can't just rely
exactly.
on a miracle. You have to do the work. But I have such a strong faith and belief, um, that God is going to support this program because it's the right thing to do. You have to have that faith.
Well, and the program, and we're going to talk about the Christmas tea and all that, and I don't have it on today, but I often wear a starfish necklace because you just never know who that one person is going to make a difference. And Lisa Adams, who couldn't sleep one night and praying, came up with Social Collectives, which is a Facebook group. And she was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. And then she's supporting you guys. And you shared the other day how her support has financially helped turn you guys around and get your awareness out there. And so, one person, we can make a difference, and you don't know who's watching and who's paying attention, that can totally turn things around or introduce you to that right person.
That's right.
And you,
Lisa stepped in early on, in my tenure with Spark. Another person who has literally altered the course of Spark is Ellen Dyke, who came on board as the chairman of our board 2 years ago. And she is so passionate about helping this population. Um, we are joined at the hip, and I'm
awesome.
so grateful every day to have Ellen helping me. She's amazing. And Lisa, I can't say enough good things about her. She has just a golden heart, and she's not only helped Spark, but so many people, charities and businesses,
Yeah, absolutely.
and keeping a safe community where we can all come together, learn from each other, and always be safe and positive. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, sure. All right. So, Spark, let's talk about exactly what Spark is, what you guys do, because you do an amazing thing. And people that aren't in the area, we're in Northern Virginia and you're expanding here. But I know you said you'd love this model to go all over the country, and it's so important. So, share, what is Spark? What's your mission? How do you make a difference? Which I know you do.
Absolutely. So Especially Adapted Resource Centers, or SPARC, is a day program that was created as an alternative to the Medicaid model. We serve adults with multiple and severe disabilities who are not able to work and who require one-to-one support for all daily living activities. SPARC was founded by Donna Goldbranson, who was an Air Force wife, and her daughter Kristen is blind, quadriplegic, and nonverbal. When they were transferred to this area, the Fairfax County Long-Term Care Coordinating Council had invited parents and self-advocates, which is what our young people are referred to as, to go on a tour of what would be available for their children once they graduated at age 22 from high school. At that time, the main providers were MVLE, Service Source, and the Northern Virginia Training Center. While at the Northern Virginia Training Center, Donna met Ellen, who knew that these families were coming, and she handed Donna a note. Donna unfolded it and it said, "Please help me."
And
Because if, pardon?
Ellen is that person working with you now?
One of our participants. She's been
Okay,
with
so
us
it's
since
not the
the very
person that,
beginning,
okay.
right? So under the Medicaid model, there's a mandated ratio of one caregiver to four people. So think about Kristen, blind, quadriplegic, and nonverbal. She requires help for every aspect of her day. What can one caregiver do with four people who are medically fragile and have such demanding needs? Hardly anything at all. They're lined up in a hallway, their basic needs are met, they're fed, they're medicated, their hygiene is attended to. But those folks want to have an engaging day, and that requires a ratio of one caregiver to one person. So Fairfax County gave us our first center at Southgate Community Center in Reston. They provided our liability insurance and staffed the center along with Donna with someone from their therapeutic recreation department. So we are truly a product of Fairfax County government. Over the years, we've expanded. In Fairfax, we're now in Reston, McLean, Herndon, Vienna. Then we're in Arlington, and we just opened on the Route 1 corridor at Hybla Valley Community Center, and we'll be opening in Loudoun County in November. The beauty of our program is that we're in the community. So we're in community centers from 10 to 2, as opposed to being isolated in one particular building, because that's something else adults want. They want to be in the community, they want to have an engaging day, and they want to interact with other people. So at some of our centers, we have intergenerational programming that's occurred organically. There are seniors also there during the day. At Herndon the other day, they did a magic show. They sometimes do art projects together. They share Zumba classes or yoga classes. And it's great for everyone because the seniors there get to interact with our young adults and vice versa. It's a very healthy, synergistic relationship.
That's awesome. Such a big need. So how many people do you serve?
So we're almost to 100 in
Okay.
Fairfax County. Per the Fairfax County CSB, there's about 100 people who would choose our program if available to them. Prior to the opening of the Alexandria campus, we were serving 52 people in Fairfax. We have the capacity there to serve the remaining folks in Fairfax County. As of last week, we had registered 25. So we're really excited to have a large space where we can fill the gap. Um, in Arlington, we have 14 participants, and I don't yet know how many we'll have in Loudoun because we just were afforded the space and have started the outreach.
That's awesome. And I just love what you do. And so we've partnered or kind of it was definitely why not today moment that we worked with. There's a chocolate shop here in Reston that my sister Amanda worked in, and literally they wanted to sponsor a boat for the cardboard boat regatta. And I remember exactly where I was. I was walking to meet you for lunch, and I
Yeah.
walked by the chocolate shop. I'm like, oh, I wonder if SPARC could partner. And so at first I remember sitting there at lunch with you, and we asked somebody to walk by that had done a boat that I knew. You're looking up on Google, like, how do we make a boat? And you're like, we can do it. And then you came back and you're like, oh, we can't do it. This is too hard. But then your volunteers and everybody's like, we can do it. And then, so it's kind of fun that you partnered with um, Chesapeake Chocolate, I guess, for 2 years. And
Yep.
then last year, you partnered with Northwest Federal Credit Union, which my other sister works for. So you're definitely connected to the Kane family in so many ways.
And your sister Alicia just joined our board of
Did
directors.
she? Oh, good. Yay. That's awesome.
Press release is coming soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Yay. So I know we talked about me being that, but oh, my life is full. Not enough time in the day. But so yeah, you're doing so many amazing things. And I know you have a gala coming up, and this episode is going to be posted the day of your gala. So it's too late for people to get involved for the gala. But how can people get involved and help and support SPARC?
There's a whole lot of different ways. We're always looking for time, treasure, and talent. So folks can come and volunteer in the centers. And these are adults. They love to learn about different kinds of businesses. So if you're a business owner and you want to come and do a presentation about your industry, the guys love to hear from people. Or you might have some time during your day, maybe an hour or two on a given day of the week, and you can become a volunteer in the center. If you don't want to be a regular volunteer, you can volunteer at one of our events. We do the cardboard boat regatta every summer. And then we also have a pancake breakfast, which we host at the Church of the Good Shepherd. That's a lot of fun. And there's games, or you can work in the kitchen or help with setup or tear down. We also have a silent auction as part of that. And then we have our gala. It's always the first Saturday of every November at the Washington Dulles Airport Marriott. We're always looking for folks to join the gala committee, and it can be, you can be part of the team for 6 months, or just show up on the day of, or donate an auction item to support. There's a whole lot of different ways. We're also looking to expand our board, especially now that we're opening in Loudoun. We'd love to have board representatives both from Loudoun County and from Arlington County, because the bulk of our board members are from Fairfax County.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, you guys just, I'm amazed at how much you do, Debbie, and you don't have a staff to be doing it. So
I know.
that I was thinking about you earlier and how you get up so early every morning. I'm like, oh, I just couldn't do that. But you just,
Well, it's
again,
not work for me. It's my passion. My
yeah,
kids are grown, they're out of the house, and some of our participants call themselves sparkles. My sparkles are like my adopted family. They're just amazing people, and they give me so much more than I could ever give to them. So it's not a job. The work that I do is truly a joy.
and I can tell that. And you can see that in your, when you talk about it. And yeah, and it takes courage to step out and do those things that give you so much joy.
Well, they need advocacy because unfortunately, um, society as a whole, there's an implicit bias against people with disabilities, and a double whammy when it's people with disabilities who cannot work. And implicit bias is something that is pervasive both in policy and universal design, even in grant making. When I ran Rainbow, getting donations and grants to support cute little children on horses was a cakewalk. Fundraising for adults with disabilities is really, really difficult. I can't tell you how many people have said, well, their parents should pay for it. There are almost no grants for adults with disabilities. The few grants that are out there are for workforce. Well, someone who's blind, quadriplegic, and nonverbal cannot work.
Right.
There's just nothing they can do, but they can have an engaging, joyful day. And it's a matter of social justice that every human being should be afforded the opportunity to live their best life. And so I'll tell anybody that's, I'm a middle-aged, gray-haired woman, and
Mhm.
I'm not worried about offending anybody. I am going to advocate for my population with my last breath, because every human being deserves the dignity of a fully engaged life in the community. That's just how I feel.
No, so true. And it's a couple of different things with my sister Amanda. First of all, and I've talked about it on the podcast a couple times, is when she was born, people asked my parents if they were going to keep her. And because at that point, babies with Down syndrome were institutionalized, which is the worst thing in the world for anybody. And she needs socialization. And my dad's like, what do you mean? And they actually asked my dad if when she was born, if my mom wanted to be in a different area of the hospital away from the normal mothers. They kept saying that Amanda was special. My dad's like, I've got 5 kids that are all special. I don't know what. So we did find the letter that he wrote about the experience, which was interesting. But and then I remember being going on a company picnic when I worked, and my boss the next day, I brought Amanda with me, and my boss the next day said that his kids were afraid of Amanda.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's so sad. So the awareness, I think, you know, the schools are doing great things now with the buddy program. There was actually a school locally, I don't know if you saw this, that they do a PE program. It's a high school, and they have people, students with disabilities working with the other students, and a buddy program. And the school had it as a elective. Did you see this?
No.
The school had as an elective, and the students fought to make it as a credited class because they're like, this is good for all of us. We're helping these other children. They're helping us. We're all learning it. It should be an accredited class. So they changed it based
That's
on kids
awesome.
fighting. And I think the younger generation, there's so much more awareness, which is awesome. I had somebody on last month who son has Down syndrome. They've adopted another son with Down syndrome. They have 11 children total, 4 natural, 7 adopted, but they have a nonprofit called Rod's Heroes, and they help people adopt kids with disabilities, especially from other countries. Their son that they adopted, he was 6 months old on the street corner in China, like literally left. And so they've been doing this thing going around. He's got a goal to throw out the first pitch of every game at a National League baseball game. And so we got to go to a Nationals game, but a lot of it, I'm like, why are you doing this? And he's like, awareness. People need to know, just the awareness factor.
Right, because people with disabilities are the same as everybody else, and
Exactly.
it's important to focus on them and not to introduce ableism into the conversation, but just to focus on the person and who they are, because we all have our abilities and strengths, and that should always be the focus, putting people first. And it's just a matter of exposure, really. I had a young lady in my program when I first joined SPARC. We were at a park walking along, and she said, "How's the grant writing going?" I was like, "It's not." And she said, "That's because we're not cute little kids in wheelchairs anymore. People are afraid of us," which when you mentioned about Amanda's experience at the picnic,
And she was a cute little kid at that point. Not that
she
she isn't.
still is. She's a
Yeah, yeah,
beautiful woman. I
yeah.
love Amanda. She's got the most beautiful smile and the best, most genuine spirit of anybody I've
Right.
ever met. She's amazing. Yeah, I don't get it. I really don't
Yeah.
get it, but
So
it's a fact. It's
how
out
did you
there.
get on this journey of being so passionate? Was there somebody in your life, or did something happen, or it was just
No,
a path you followed?
I went to work after the White House. I went to work for Fairfax County Office of Public-Private Partnerships, and I was the PR manager, and we had 5 direct service programs. And while there, that's when I kind of went from being a communications and PR person to fundraising, because I kept doing PR events that ended up raising money. And one of the programs was Medical Care for Children Partnership. And that's when I was really exposed to the underserved communities in Fairfax County. Um, and then I left there to run a private foundation. And then my children needed me to be at home more. So I took a year off and I spent it, at home. And then my kids were going to school at Wakefield out in the plains, and I spent the year riding. Every day after I dropped them off from school, I would go to this barn, and it was the best year of my life. And I just ride all day and then pick them up. And the president of Rainbow's board, she was like, "You know how to fundraise, and you obviously come to school every day in riding clothes. We need an executive director to run Rainbow." And that's when I really got introduced to the world of people with disabilities. Um, and, once you're aware of the need,
Yeah.
you have to do something, right? You
Right.
can't just wait for somebody else to make a change.
Well,
And
unfortunately, a lot of people do. wait for
Yeah.
somebody else, and they don't say why not today. They're like, I'm not equipped, or I don't know, and I can't do this. But you just said yes and said why not today.
Yes, I did, and it's been the greatest gift to myself ever, along with my children, because it opened up such a beautiful world and introduced me to so many amazing people. And my Spark friends are my heroes. I look up to them and I'm inspired by them every single day. They are so powerful and so strong and so creative and so amazing. I'm just grateful every day to have them as part of my life and my community.
I know you are, and you can tell, and what a difference you're making. And it's just, one person saying yes, and then one person. And a lot of people I've talked to or I know said yes, said why not today, took that pivotal thing because a major shift in their life. So, like, with my family, my dad helped start Gabriel Homes when Amanda was born, and Gabriel Homes is a group home for adults with disabilities. And that's probably a good conversation we need to have about Spark and Gabriel Homes functioning, because one of the things I'm on their board, we keep talking about, is their residents are getting older. And so that might be a good partnership to
Definitely.
exist. But then there's also an organization I'm sure you're aware of, Jill's Place,
Jill's house.
Jill's House, which
Hmm.
offers respite care because it's a pastor of a huge church whose daughter was born with a lot of limitations. And so he started that. So a lot of people start because of something, but you started just because you got a big heart. And I love and you are making a huge difference. And I look up to you and just like, I don't know how you do it all, but you're amazing.
Well, thank you. It's because I have so many people like you in the community who help me. No one person can accomplish anything. And I have the best board on the face of the planet, the most incredible staff, and live in this community of heart. There are so many people, and we
So
are
true.
truly blessed to live here. Um, there are
So
just so many people who care, you
yeah.
know.
And so one of the questions I ask all my guests, and you brought it up, is like, how do you know my dad? Which you didn't know my dad, but all the connections, and you guys think a lot alike. He was all about making a difference, and he had an idea like, why not today? Let's just figure it out. He started Gabriel Homes. He was very active in the Reston community. We can go way back to, now we'll pull my mom into this, Mary Berger, who is on your board,
Yep.
whose son, who unfortunately has passed away, but um, Mary and my mom worked together. They knew my parents like early on Reston, and um, their other son wrote a poem about Amanda when she was little because he was her buddy in elementary school or high school or something. So we still have that, which was kind of cool. So yeah, all the connections, this community living here, and of course, all the million crazy connections between us.
I know, it's insane. Well, I have to, when when you asked, how I knew your dad, I never got to know your dad, but I know him both through your family. His spirit shines through in the legacy and his influence that is Reston. What a remarkable and extraordinary community this is. And I'm so grateful that we moved here 3 years ago. You can't be unhappy living in Reston. Every day I go out for walks on the trails, by the lakes. Everything is right at your fingertips. It's just in the trees. Reston is just a remarkable community
So
and
were
such
you
a
involved
beautiful
in
place.
Reston at all before you moved out here?
No, not at
No.
all. I mean,
Okay.
I would come to restaurants, or
Right.
go shopping. I mean, I real Bill and I were like, Bill goes, I just thought Reston was the Reston Town Center,
I
before we
know. Isn't
lived
that funny?
here.
Well,
And
and it's interesting, connect back to my dad. He was a city planner, and he would often talk about how people move all the way out to these, and you were in a rural area and loved it until you
Warrenton,
needed
yep,
services for your husband. Um,
yep.
and so, I mean, it's nice to have everything here. I mean, there's days I don't get in my car. I actually went this weekend. A friend was in town, and I picked her up at a hotel near the airport on off Sunrise Valley, and I drove back. I'm like, where the heck am I? Like, I don't leave my little bubble of Lake Anna Reston very often because I don't have to. Everything's here.
It's all here. Well, that's the cool thing is every cluster is within walking distance of shopping. You don't
Mm,
need a car in Reston, you know, we can
no,
walk to almost everything that we need, and that's better for the environment too.
so true.
And we've got Capital Bike Share everywhere, you know,
Yeah.
that's another thing. You see a lot of people walking and bike riding.
Hmm. Yep. So, how would you encourage somebody else to say why not today?
Just do it. If you see something that speaks to your heart or in your gut, you know, needs to be done, don't think about it. Just do it. It's so important.
Yeah, I always say those things that wake you up in the middle of the night and you can't get off your mind, and people are like, you should do this.
Yeah, just do it. One
Just
step
do
at
it.
a time.
I totally agree. So I know we have the gala this weekend, and this is when the podcast is coming out. But one of the things we are launching, we kind of talked about it the other day, is one of my wake up in the middle of the night, why not day moment ideas is I really feel like the why not today message needs to be heard and shared. And people need to have that courage and reminded, just like Nike, just do it, like why not today? Or the life is good. And so with why not today, I do have t-shirts and I have some cups and I just did some mugs and some glasses. So one of my passions is nonprofits. And so I have always wanted to partner with different nonprofits to give back. And so we are launching it with SPARC, and my website is being updated as we speak. So we'll, well, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be updated. And so anybody that purchases any Why Not Today swag between now and the end of November of 2024, 20% of any of the purchases are going to go back to SPARC.
Thank you.
And so we want to encourage people to say, why not today? Wear the motto proud. Like if you just want a vinyl sticker or if you want a cup or a t-shirt to remind you to say, why not today? Because you can make a difference. And so we are going to make a difference. So any swag in October, November, 20% is going to go to SPARC. And then we're going to partner with other nonprofits throughout the year. So we need everybody to say, why not today? And let's give back and let's make a difference.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. So, well, thank you, Debbie. We could go on and on forever, I'm sure. Anything final? Where do people, I'm going to include SPARC information in the show notes, but where's the best place to find you, to find SPARC, or anything in conclusion you want to share?
www.sparksolutions.org.
And it's SPARC.
Solutions.org. Yep.
All right. Now I'll definitely share that in the show notes.
Thank you so much. This was awesome, Leslie. I really
Oh,
love
well,
what you
thank
do.
you. I love everybody's courage story.
Oh,
So,
several people have asked me, when's your next luncheon?
my next luncheon is the 21st. So it's a week earlier this month because of Thanksgiving. But the first is on a Friday, so it's really not that far.
At Calypso's?
At Calypso's.
Do you
Yeah,
have your speaker?
I do. It is Jennifer Rose with the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce, which I think you.
Oh, I met her at the last luncheon. She's
Okay, she is
amazing.
awesome and somebody you definitely need to connect with because she has a lot of amazing connections.
Thank
So
you.
you're welcome. Thank you. Well, thank you for everybody joining us, and thanks for your inspiring story, Debbie. Remember, every day is an opportunity to take action, chase your dreams, and make a difference. So why not today? And remember, I think I've mentioned this in a couple episodes. We have a course coming out to help with that overwhelm and chaos in your life that I'm going to be kicking off in November. So if you want more information about that, you can find everything at whynottodaypodcast.com. And thanks again, Debbie, for being our guest. And I'm excited about our partnership.
Me too. Thanks for having me. And
You're
thank you for
welcome.
everything.
Oh, my pleasure. Bye.
Bye.